An Antifa aligned individual, I don't want to call him a protester, but I guess fine, a protester aligned with Antifa, that's what they say, who attacked a Trump supporter has pleaded guilty to assault. This has to do with Mike Cernovich's event that took place quite a while ago. Was it last year, I think? Now, this guy is going to get 18 months in, my understanding is prison. They just said the slammer and jail and prison are different things. Prison is usually for terms longer than a year. At least that's how it works in Illinois. But here's a guy. He jumped a 50, I believe it was an older guy, 56 years old. Is that how old he was? 56-year-old man, knocking him to the ground, giving him a head injury, and he choked him out. And the police arrested him. And what's fascinating about this story is, well, where was the press? Like, I understand the New York Post is covering this, but think about what happened when the Proud Boys got into a fight with Antifa, and it was literally everywhere. And they show up to those court cases, and there they are. Well, guess what? You're not going to see this story about the sentencing in any of the mainstream papers. At the same time, they'll try and tell you, but Antifa opposes racism. Yeah, nice try. Let's read the story, and then I want to show you some stuff that I find quite humorous in regards to Antifa. They say Antifa protester who attacked Trump supporter pleads guilty to assault. An Antifa street thug can now look forward to continuing his fight from jail. David Campbell, 32, copped a plea for his role in a 2018 beatdown outside the Night for Freedom party in Manhattan, organized by right-wing activist Mike Cernovich. Campbell pleaded guilty to 2 counts of felony assault and will be sentenced on October 23rd to 18 months in the slammer, reps for Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance Jr. told the Post. Campbell was arrested near the venue, a nightclub at West 50th Street and 12th Avenue on January 20th, 2018, so almost years ago. After he punched and choked a 56-year-old man, he had followed out of the event, police said. He was one of about 80 Antifa agitators protesting the gathering. That's not protesting. That's why I didn't want to call him a protester. That's terror. You tell someone, if you go to this party, he nearly killed this guy. And I understand when it comes to plea agreements, the reason he's getting 2 counts of felony assault and not, say, like attempted murder or something, or reckless endangerment, whatever the laws may be, is probably just because they were, for the prosecutors, they say, we'll give you a lower charge if you, plead to it. Now, I will admit, there's a fine line between, I shouldn't say that, but I'll say it like this. In a normal circumstance, you get into a street fight, you punch someone and choke them. I don't think you deserve to go to prison for a long, long time. I think you deserve to go to jail. You should get, there should be a penalty for you committing a crime and attacking another person and violating their autonomy. This is particularly more nefarious, and this is what I'm concerned about. They're treating it, in my opinion, as though this guy just happened upon another guy and hit him. No, this was a political act meant to interfere in political life. Telling you, if you support the president and go to these parties, this is what you get. They're trying to increase the cost. So what happens is, while we do treat all of these circumstances, based on the individual, I think there needs to be some kind of political component to what we're seeing here. And I guess the challenge is he took a plea arrangement, so they give him just felony assault, and fine, that's what it is. But come on, man. It's a 56-year-old guy who was walking to the train, and he got jumped. And my understanding is they could have killed him, hit his head or something. They say, quote, when the Proud Boys, a far-right fraternal organization, got into a street fight with Antifa members, it was a nationwide story. The mayor and AG tweeted about the street fight. When Antifa attacked a 56-year-old man, silence from the press, Cernovich told the Post. Now that the criminal case is closed, I also will be taking legal action against Mr. Campbell and his Confederates. It is time to find out who is funding Antifa, he said. Now, here's the thing. They're going to come back and say it was random. I don't believe that was the case. There is someone responsible. They're just good at hiding their identity. This is not a circumstance of an individual fighting back against a repressive government. This is the circumstance about a bunch of people showing up and protesting other people. See, this is the big problem. When I look at Hong Kong, I see people committing acts that I disagree with and have criticized, but they're going up against the police and the Communist Party of China. And while I will state, there's still things to criticize them for. There's no reason to smash out the what are they called? There's like glass at train stations for where they line up. It's not like a government building. It's just a train station, man. That's something regular people use. So I can criticize them for that. But then it becomes hard when they're fighting with cops and the cops are trying to impose Communist China's authoritarian rules. In this particular instance, and again, I will stress, I will still criticize those who go around smashing up banks and windows and everything. It's ineffective, but in this instance, You have a guy who showed up to a private event with private people and attacked a private citizen who has no power and did nothing. That's terror. That is the baddies. That is on par. This is what the authoritarians do. They attack private individuals and they believe they're justified in doing it. Well, now this guy's going to prison. But to Cernovich's point, you know what I really love about this? I love about this story. When this guy was attacked, yeah, there was very little commotion from the press, if at all. And it's funny because when it comes to what Cernovich talks about, they know every tiny detail about his life. They will pull up the most obscure quote from the most obscure live stream he's ever done, and they will know, and it is news. But a dude in New York knocks a guy to the ground, chokes him out, punches him, and is getting 18 months. And where is the mainstream press? Why? All we really get is this. I did a search for Antifa, New York Post, Washington Times, campus reform, Political Light, Snopes talking about Greta Thunberg, which is interesting. We'll get to that. Daily Caller, Oregon Live. Props to Oregon Live because they've covered this stuff. But is it at all surprising that when you search for this violence and the sentence, where is the mainstream press? And here's what I like to point out. Brian Stelter and Oliver Darcy over at CNN love tweeting about the right-wing media machine. Well, maybe there wouldn't be one if you would cover this. A guy nearly died or could have died. I don't want to be, maybe I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but this guy from Antifa attacked a private citizen at a private party because he's a lunatic. And now he's going to prison for it. And you all ranted and raved about the Proud Boys. I mean, it was in the New York Times. What about this? New York Post. Fine, I get it, but they're more conservative. This is why there is the right-wing media machine. Because the mainstream media is the mirror image. It's the left-wing media machine. And they like to go, there's no liberal media. Oh, please, don't even play. Don't even play. We get it. The bigger companies, the big mainstream companies, the big venture capital, it's all left. That's why they don't talk about this stuff. And we know it, and I know it because I worked there. Now, here's what I love. You notice how you get to this thing where it says Snopes, Greta Thunberg? Even Greta Thunberg has enough tact to denounce the fact that she was seen wearing this shirt. She was seen in a photo wearing an Antifa All-Stars shirt. She tweeted, yesterday I posted a photo wearing a borrowed t-shirt that says I'm against fascism. That t-shirt can apparently to some be linked to a violent movement. I don't support any form of violence, and to avoid misunderstandings, I've deleted the post. And of course, I am against fascism. Absolute respect, bravo. Wonderful statement, I agree. I know a lot of people want to say it's her parents' shirt. You know what, that's fine. Let's stop here. Let me say this. I too am against fascism, and I absolutely respect this statement. She wore the t-shirt, people got upset. She said, I understand, I'll delete the post. Much respect. Antifa is, horrifying, right? Greta Thunberg has the tact to understand that what she did was troublesome, in a sense, to what she's trying to accomplish. And that some people don't like what Antifa does. And I absolutely respect that. And again, I think you and I and everybody, we all agree fascism is bad, except for obviously the small fringe group of fascists who exist. But yeah, for the most part, all of us, I completely agree. And thank you for making this point that Antifa is very violent. They have done these things. We see it in the press. And we can be against fascism while denouncing those who fly that flag. And then, of course, we get the infamous Lacey McCauley, the myth. Antifa is as violent as the right wing. I don't think I've ever said that. I know we've heard some pretty hyperbolic statements, but this is called propaganda. The facts. Right-wing extremists killed at least 50 Americans last year alone. Hey, that's great. Antifa has killed no one. Yeah, that's a great to point out that right-wing extremists have done that. Sure, great. Does it change the fact that Antifa beat up a 56-year-old guy? Does it change the fact that a bunch of private citizens were protesting major corporations in D.C. and Antifa came to protest the people? It's nuts. And you know, I got to do it. Here we go. Because this is getting a ton of traction right now because Mitt Romney apparently is like talking about running against Trump. Mitt Romney tweeted this August 2017. No, not the same. One side is racist, bigoted, Nazi. The other opposes racism, bigotry, morally different universes. Oh, I didn't realize that you could just claim to do something, do the opposite, and people like Mitt Romney will come out and defend you. What I love about this tweet from Mitt Romney resurfacing is I will first point out news cycle context, cultural context changes with time. Okay, today we have this story. We know what Antifa has been doing. This was a few months after Romney tweeted that. So it's important to point that out. Now, that being said, it's important to point out that Antifa earlier in 2017 was attacking people. And I watched them attack old people. So Mitt Romney made an insane statement. Could you imagine if someone came out, praised ISIS, and was like, but I didn't know what ISIS was? I obviously don't think Antifa is as bad as ISIS. I'm making a point about ignorance is not an excuse for praising violent authoritarians who are deranged and beat people. And even Greta Thunberg understands this. I love it. I love that she is aware of the nuance and the context in politics enough to denounce, delete the post and say, I understand, I don't support this. But even people like Mitt Romney don't even get it. It's wonderful. Now, interestingly, at the time of that post, I think Greta was like 14. And at the time of the rise of Antifa violence, she was probably 13. So it's pretty astute. See? You see this? I love that you can have someone who is, I'll put it this way. Greta isn't the target it's hard to say. I think the left tries to use Greta as a shield when it comes to climate change, and the right mocks Greta for sure, but a lot of the higher profile right-wing people are criticizing the left's use of Greta. But the point is, outside of all of that, by all means, disagree with her, think she's wrong. I've called her an ignorant child, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean it literally, like she's a child who is ignorant of much of how the world works. But even she has the tact to denounce and delete a post. Mitt Romney, where are you at? I think we get it. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging around. Next segment will be at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. That is a different channel. And I will see you all there.